friends, I'm so excited to show you today how to draw Keith Haring figures from start to finish. There's so many different ways to draw a Keith Haring person, so if you try one way and you get stuck and frustrated, you can try a different way. There's no absolute right or wrong way to do this. Taking a look at this picture that I have finished, this is inspired by Keith Haring. No way does it look as amazing as his work does, but I was kind of using this as inspiration by trying to put together a composition that had three characters together that looked like they were all moving in action, and then I wanted to create like a story background that gave kind of an idea of where the figures were at and what they were doing. And I even included some of my own symbols like the heart, the radiant heart. I wanted to add some pattern and texture similar to what Keith Haring would add. And then instead of having a dog man like Keith Haring is very famous for in his artwork, I added like a little Godzilla character. I thought that would be a cute addition to my artwork. I have made so many this week in practicing. You can make figures stacked on top of each other, just like Keith Haring. You can make figures even with more of a patterned background with Keith Haring. Now these are a bit different because these have more curvy lines and are a bit longer in length than typical Keith Haring people. But like I said, there's no absolute one right way to do it. So whenever you're trying to learn to draw in the style of Keith Haring, it's really good to remember that starting with a stick person, in this case, is actually a good way to start. I know sometimes learning how to draw people can be really, really tricky. So I always tell my friends, start with a basic stick person. Start with either an oval or a round shaped head, a line going down for the neck, a line across for the shoulders, a line down for the spine. Now I try to make sure the line going down for the spine is about twice as long as that line for the shoulders. A line going across for the hips. Sometimes I like to turn that into a little upside down trapezoid. And then the arms and the legs, and that's the fun part, is the arms and the legs to make it look like it's a figure in motion, just like Keith Haring was trying to do, is you're positioning them in different ways so that they're not just straight down by your side. So if I wanted to make this figure like he was waving hi to another figure, I might have the arm positioned up. Well, a big mistake that a lot of people make is they make the arms way too short. You have to remember that your elbow, when you're holding your arm about straight up, your elbow will hit right about the top of where your head is. So that means the other half of your arm is above your head. So your arms are way longer than you probably even realize. And that's if I have an arm facing upward. If I have an arm facing down, my elbow is going to be right about the middle part of my waist, right here. And then the bottom of my arm, or more so where my wrist is going to be down here by my hips, and then my hand will fall just a little bit below that. So you can see your arms are probably a little bit longer than you've been drawing them if you've had time in the past to try to draw people. Same thing with the legs. Your legs are going to be in longer segments just like your arm. And the cool thing again about doing Keith Haring people is if you know where your body bends at the elbows and again at the knees, you can move your legs by bending the direction of your line, like diagonal out, diagonal back in, and that makes the figure look like he's doing some sort of action, just like I did with diagonal lines for my arms right here. So that's really the key to get your Keith Haring figures moving, is bending those lines in different directions. So that's how I got started learning how to really make some cool Keith Haring people. And then another step that I actually take after drawing a stick figure is I go ahead and turn that into shape. So then take your stick figure, turn the middle part of the body into a long rectangle. I find that that really helps stop you from making your stick figures way too small. And then one way to make the arms is to turn each arm, section of each arm, into a rectangle. And then it gets a little skinnier at the wrist, so it looks a little bit more like a trapezoid there. Top part of the arm is more like a rectangle. Bottom part of the arm is a little bit more like a trapezoid. That is one method that works really, really well. Another method that I like to show people is to just take that line that you made and thicken it up really nice. This is a good way, especially for younger kids, if they're not quite sure how to do the rectangles and the trapezoids. Just turn that line into a really thick line. This is a fast way to do it too, especially if you're not quite sure. Then once you have all of those shapes in place, that's when you move to the next step and you take your black marker. You can use a black crayon, a black Sharpie, any type of black marker that you have available to you. And what you do is you just very carefully trace all around the outside edge. You have to make sure you have the feet in there and the hands in there. And then look right here, I actually need to go around my hand, go up where the arm is. And then Keith Haring typically did not have longer necks or sometimes no necks on his people. I sometimes add necks on mine and I sometimes don't. Now this guy's neck is a little bit too long, so I'm gonna go ahead and shorten where his head is right here and just draw around it so you can see what that looks like, because I made his head a little bit too high. But you get the idea how you trace around it, erase the inside lines that you no longer need before you start to color in. And the fun thing is once you get really good at this, you can start to learn how to turn these people into Keith Haring people doing all different kinds of poses. It really takes just a lot of practice, learning how to angle your lines to make them go out and up in different directions or to go out and down in different directions, trying making figures bigger or smaller. It took me a while even to get them to look like more Keith Haring people. And the way that I did that is instead of doing curved lines, I started to do straighter lines when I was tracing my people, and I took out the neck. So that's another characteristic of Keith Haring's artwork, is making the neck kind of go away and making the hands and the feet really, really simple. And then I went ahead and colored everything in using both marker and then crayon, some for the background, and pattern down and around my environment just to make it look more interesting. Do not forget, a big characteristic of Keith Haring's artwork is adding those motion lines. That is a real fun way to give your artwork a little bit of extra pow, and using bright colors and contrasting colors with dark outlines is another characteristic to give your artwork that extra pow too. So I hope you have fun today experimenting with different ways to draw Keith Haring figures, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know, that's one of the great things about learning how to do this, is if you don't like something you do, you can just start over and try something again. And the more that you do it, the better and better you will get. I hope you have fun learning today, boys and girls. See you later. Bye-bye.